Developing right now on Morning News Now, snow way out. This morning, tens of millions of people bracing for more wintry weather from another round of storms stretching from coast to coast. Plus, a separate system setting off flood alerts across the Pacific Northwest. We're tracking the conditions and the warnings and what to expect where you live. Also this morning, President Trump announcing a multi-billion-dollar rescue package for farmers.
Maximizing domestic farm production is a big part of how we will make America affordable again and bring down grocery prices for American families. And again, these are prices that we inherited. When I left, we were doing incredible.
More on the plan, plus reaction and what it could mean for you. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court weighing the president's power to fire members of independent federal agencies. We'll take you to Washington. Plus, a plot twist in the bidding battle for Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount making a hostile all-cash bid after Netflix struck a deal. The latest on the fight and how it could change Hollywood forever. And workplace woes. Gen Z employees sounding off about what stresses them out in the office. We'll share tips that can make your 9 to 5 a little less daunting. Good morning. I'm Emily Ikeda in for Joe and Savannah. We begin this hour with the brutal cold snap that's gripping much of the country, bringing below freezing temperatures and blankets of heavy snow. This morning, millions are waking up under winter storm warnings and advisories as a surge of Arctic air causes temperatures to plunge and a series of snowstorms slam the Midwest and East Coast. The winter weather also causing problems at the nation's airports. So far this morning, hundreds of flights are already delayed and dozens more canceled. And the icy conditions are also causing problems for drivers up and down the East Coast as hundreds of accidents have been reported over the past few days. And out west in Colorado, nearly 70 avalanches have been reported since Friday because of heavy snow. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman is standing by with a complete look at your forecast. But first, let's check in with NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin in frigid Poughkeepsie, New York. Erin, good morning.
Hey there. Well, the cold is biting here in Poughkeepsie. It really cuts through you. It's 5 degrees. That's near a record low, part of this icy blast that's currently gripping the Northeast, leaving roads slick and dangerous. City leaders in Boston yesterday outlined their plan to keep residents safe in the months ahead with 175 pieces of snow clearing equipment in-house and 800 more on standby in the event of a larger storm. And then out west, officials in Colorado sounding the alarm as dozens of dangerous avalanches reported in recent days, with much of the state sitting in the avalanche danger zone. This brutal weather contributing to chaos at airports across the country, stranding frustrated passengers with more than 5,000 flight delays piling up on Monday. This is all with less than 2 weeks to go until the start of winter. Back to you.
Erin McLaughlin and all of her layers, thank you so much. Let's bring in meteorologist Angie Lassman for the latest on what's ahead in this brutal winter blast. Angie, emphasis on the brutal. Good morning.
Yeah, emphasis on those layers, too. Good morning to you. We've got temperatures, of course, into the single digits when you add in those feels like temperatures. Notice Detroit just 6 degrees right now. As we look to Marquette, 8. We've got teens across parts of Minneapolis and Chicago for what it feels like. And as far east as New York City, similar story. Teens for our actual and feels like temperature. And then just 4 degrees for what it feels like in Boston this morning. We stay in the freezer as we get into the afternoon hours across much of the east as well. Temperatures running below normal from Boston down to Columbia, but some milder conditions finally settling in for folks across the plains. You'll see 40s for places like the northern plains. And then we start to kind of get this next shot of cool air working its way in. So we see temperatures, a big drop of temperatures as we get into those same regions for tomorrow. And then we'll finally start to see that even chillier air by the time we wrap up our work week and head into this weekend. So we go from the teens in Minneapolis on Thursday to just 10 degrees on Friday and an actual temperature of 1 degree by the time Saturday rolls around. This will impact folks across the Midwest, across the Great Lakes, Indianapolis into the teens by the time Saturday rolls around, and folks across places like Pittsburgh hovering into those 20s and 30s and then eventually mid-20s as we round out our weekend. We, on top of that, of course, also have those winter alerts up as we gear up for this next system. 22 million people stretching across the plains, the Great Lakes, and parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And you can see kind of this batch of snow that's working across the Great Lakes, and then this next secondary shot of rain and wintry mix, as well as some snow across parts of those northern plains. So here's what's going on. We've got a clipper system that's going to eject into the northern plains. This is going to really ramp up that snow from North Dakota to Michigan. But notice we've also got a bit of that snow kind of working through parts of the interior Northeast from that first area of low pressure in an extending front. That's going to leave us a little busy, and that's why we have those winter alerts for interior Northeast today. But by tomorrow, that other system starts to work its way to the east, and we've got, essentially rain up and down the I-95 corridor, and then basically snow everywhere else. So this is going to cause some travel troubles for folks across that region as we get into tomorrow. And by the time we get through Thursday, some of those highest amounts you can see downwind of the lakes, of course. That's where we'll see upwards of 6, maybe 8 inches in some spots. But a good dose of snow, especially for the interior Northeast, and again, downwind of those Great Lakes. You can see anywhere from 3 to 5 inches across parts of the Midwest. Detroit ending up with 1 to 2 inches. So, Emily, what this means, a little bit of a difficult kind of travel day ahead of us across the plains, and then tomorrow for the Northeast.
Yeah, Chicago has just been absolutely hammered so far this season.
Yeah, more to come.
Thanks so much. All right, great. President Trump is heading to the battleground state of Pennsylvania today, where he's expected to deliver a major speech on the economy. It's an issue that's become front and center for voters since his return to office. According to a recent NBC News poll, just 30% of registered voters believe the president is living up to expectations on inflation and cost of living. 66% say he's fallen short. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now for more on this. Hey, Megan. So the polls underscoring a lack of satisfaction with the Trump administration's efforts on the economy. What can we expect from his speech today? What do you think his message is going to be?
Hey, yeah, good morning. So the White House has billed this as a speech where the president is going to talk about his economic accomplishments and take a look also at what's to come. Now, a White House official told NBC News that we can expect this to be similar to a campaign-style economic stump speech. Now, the White House has consistently argued that the president's policies are helping the economy, and they've also pushed back and argued that they're trying to undo what they view as a negative impact that the Biden administration's policies have had on the economy. Take a listen to how President Trump talked about this just yesterday.
We inherited a mess, affordability, but you can call it affordability or anything you want, but the Democrats caused the affordability problem, and we're the ones that are fixing it. So it's a very simple statement. They caused it, we're fixing it.
So as you mentioned, polling indicates that voters are not satisfied with how the Trump administration is handling the economy. I want to also point you back to that previous poll that you mentioned. That poll also indicated that voters thought that the administration had fallen short on the economy and looking out for the middle class as well. Now, this is also coming into context as we're a year away from the midterm elections. That's still a long way away. But politicians here in Washington are already starting to think about what this means and how their parties should effectively talk about issues like affordability that have proven to repeatedly be a very mobilizing issue for voters here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about something else that's also buzzing. The president's $12 billion aid package to farmers that he announced yesterday. Where is this money coming from, and how is it expected to help the agriculture sector?
Yeah, so the president announced this move yesterday. He said that this would come from tariff revenue. Now, the aid package includes up to $11 billion in one-time payments through a new Agriculture Department program. And the department also said yesterday that they're planning to hold back about $1 billion for specialty crops. Later on, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said that the aid would go out by the end of February. Now, just to take a step back here, this is all coming in the context of U.S.-China trade disputes. Now, China for months had stopped buying U.S. soybeans, and that had hit U.S. soybean farmers particularly hard because China's the top overseas market for soybeans. Now, China recently started buying U.S. soybeans again, but that's the context that we're seeing a decision like this be made amidst those trade tensions that have been pretty high for the past couple of months here.
And Megan, I also want to talk about something in the tech world. The president said he will allow tech giant NVIDIA to sell some of its AI chips in China. That's a reversal of current policy. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. President Trump announced this yesterday in a post to Truth Social. He said that he informed President Xi of China that the U.S. would allow this move. Now, the chips in question here are a generation behind NVIDIA's latest chips. And the president also said that he doesn't, that he mentioned this to China's President Xi Jinping, and that the president responded, quote, positively. Now, President Trump also said in his post to Truth Social that these products would be shipped, quote, under conditions that allow for continued strong national security. Now, this is significant because, as you mentioned, it's a reversal in the U.S. allowing these products to be shipped into China. So it's a pretty big move here, Emily.
Megan, thanks so much for breaking all of it down. Appreciate it. Congress reconvenes on Capitol Hill today to face the looming health care crisis facing millions of Americans. On Thursday, the Senate is set to vote on a Democratic proposal to extend Obamacare subsidies for 3 years. Those tax credits, which help millions afford health care, are due to expire in just 22 days. Senate Majority Leader John Thune promised to take up the vote in exchange for Democrats' help in reopening the government last month. But their plan looks all but certain to fail, with Republicans calling a clean extension a non-starter.
Republicans have made it very clear that we would like to work with Democrats to address the affordability of health care and find solutions that actually reduce costs. But as Democrats have made clear with this, quote, clean bill, they're not really after health care solutions. They're after a political issue. To attempt to batter Republicans with during this next election year.
So with health insurance premiums already set to rise 26% on average next year, policy analysts say more than 20 million Americans could see their monthly payments more than double if the tax credits are allowed to expire. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins me now with the latest. Mel, good morning. We heard Leader Thune mention the midterms there. A new Gallup poll shows approval of the 2010 Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, is higher now than it's ever been. 57, you see it on your screen there, % of Americans say they support the legislation. That boost came from independents, whose support went up 10% this year. Given its popularity and what these subsidies mean for so many people, why is the expectation that this proposal, do you think, to extend those Obamacare credits will fail, Mel?
Yeah, good morning, Emily. It is a great question. The law might be popular in the country. It is not popular, though, with the Republican base. GOP lawmakers have long viewed Obamacare as bad policy. They say the fact that people even need enhanced subsidies in order to be able to afford their premiums shows just how broken the law is. But that being said, so many Republicans and people in red states actually do rely on the Affordable Care Act to get their health care. And so there was some willingness among Republicans to extend these subsidies, but only if there were significant reforms and only if it was done on a short-term basis in order to give themselves more time to come up with a more permanent solution. However, Democrats, even though there were some bipartisan discussions about what bill they were going to put on the floor Thursday, ultimately what they decided to do was to put a 3-year clean extension, aka no reforms, no add-ons, on the House floor of those Obamacare subsidies. And so that is why we're going to see likely zero Republican support on Thursday. And it's unclear whether Republicans are even going to put up their own plan this week.
So there are a couple of things going on right now. In addition to the Democratic plan, there are also multiple Republican health care proposals floating around in both chambers. So why aren't Republicans uniting around a single plan?
Well, it's not for lack of trying. There have been multiple proposals floating around. One of them from Susan Collins and Bernie Moreno would extend the subsidies, but it would include additional reforms like caps on income and eligibility requirements. There's also another plan that's from Bill Cassidy. He is a doctor. He's on a key committee. That would actually replace the money that is used for subsidies and funnel that money into health savings account. That's something that President Trump has been talking about. There are multiple plans sort of mirroring that in different forms and fashions. But so far, Republicans have not been able to coalesce around a plan. And for those of us who've been on Capitol Hill for a long time covering this issue, it's almost no surprise because healthcare has long vexed Republicans. They tried and failed to repeal and replace Obamacare during President Trump's first term in 2017. And the other problem here for Republicans is they only recently started trying to even come up with a replacement plan, but the clock is ticking.
Let's talk timeline, Mel. When is the real cutoff for lawmakers to pass some kind of health care deal?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Some lawmakers say that they have until the end of this year. That is when the Affordable Care Act subsidies technically expire. But there are some other lawmakers who say the real deadline is the end of January, because that is when there is another government funding deadline. And so some Democrats view that as a key leverage point. But the reality is, open enrollment already started in November. Many Americans have made their selections. Some of them ultimately saw the prices and decided to walk away from getting health care because it was too expensive. And so the time is running out for Congress to act. Does not look like a solution, though, is coming anytime soon.
All right, we'll all be waiting. Melanie Zanona, thank you so much. The Supreme Court seems poised to give President Trump another victory that furthers the reach of executive power. On Monday, the justices in the conservative majority court heard arguments in Slaughter versus Trump, a case that focuses on whether the president has the power to fire members of independent federal agencies. It's centered around Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, a member of the Federal Trade Commission who was fired by Trump in March. The 1914 law that set up the FTC says that members can only be removed for, quote, inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. At the time of her firing, President Trump did not cite any of these reasons. He only said her services were, quote, inconsistent with his administration's priorities. Even though this case is specifically focused on Slaughter, a ruling in favor of the president could vastly expand presidential power. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach and legal analyst Misty Maris join me now with more on this. Good morning to you both. Gary, let's start with you. Get us up to speed with what happened at the court yesterday and what the justices seem to have revealed with their questions in this case.
Yeah, over the past 11 months, the Supreme Court has allowed President Trump to remove pretty much anyone he's tried to remove from the Merit Systems Protection Board, from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. But the Federal Trade Commission is different, and that's because there's a 1935 Supreme Court decision that says quite literally the president can't remove somebody from the FTC. Now, the court's liberal justices expressed some real concern about the expansion of presidential power here and what this would mean beyond the FTC going down the road here. The court's conservative justices said it's about time we go about overturning what's called Humphrey's Executor, that 1935 law, and going forward and doing this right now. Here's a mix of what we heard today.
You're asking us to destroy the structure of government and to take away from Congress its ability to protect its idea that the government is better structured with some agencies that are independent.
If the FTC, the MSPB, the NLRB are made subject to political process and the political discipline of being accountable to the president, the sky will not fall. In fact, our entire government will move towards accountability to the people.
We expect a decision in this case, Emily, by the end of June.
Okay, Misty, so let's talk bigger picture here. We're talking about an individual's firing, but this is also about limits around presidential power.
Absolutely. It goes far beyond just the FTC and Slaughter as it relates to her termination. So this is about that 1935 precedent that Gary just spoke about called Humphrey's Executor. And that case affirmed that presidents cannot fire commissioners from these independent agencies unless there is a cause. Now, the critical question before the court, is that constitutional, or do these firings fall under the Article 2 power? So there's several other cases of termination at different agencies. Gary laid those out. Those will be directly impacted by this decision. But there's also 20 plus other independent agencies created by Congress. Keyword, independent. They're not supposed to be where the president's whims can change who is in positions of power. So that's how expansive, if the court goes the way of the administration, the result could be very expansive when it comes to all of those administrative agencies.
Yeah, on that point, let's dig into that a little bit more. So let's say there is a ruling in favor of President Trump. Looking down the line here, what kind of impact could you foresee?
Well, so it's twofold, right? Because in the oral arguments yesterday, one is it seems pretty clear the court is poised to say the president has the ability to make this change at the FTC. But will they go so far as to overturn Humphrey's Executor, that precedent? If they do, the argument is that other areas where there are similar removal statutes like the tax court, the court of claims, they could be subject to similar arguments. So presidential power could actually expand beyond even the administrative agencies into other entities. And of course, the idea that the president's whims could dictate how these independent agencies actually do their work is something that is of concern and was raised in yesterday's oral arguments.
And Gary, before you go, let's talk what will be in discussion today. Today, the court will take up arguments on a case that's a major challenge to campaign finance regulations. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the big question before the court today is how much money a political party's committee can spend in support of a political candidate. Under a current law, a party can spend money on behalf of a candidate, but it cannot spend unlimited funds in coordination with the candidate. And those words are really going to be important here. Right now, the limit is about $4 million for Senate races, $127,000 for House races. And conservatives, including now Vice President J.D. Vance, actually have a real stake in this because he was one of the challengers when he ran in 2022 out in Ohio. He's one of the challengers in this Supreme Court case. This is not dissimilar to the 2010 Supreme Court ruling we saw in Citizens United that allowed unlimited spending from outside groups in political campaigns.
A lot to watch for. Gary Grumbach and Misty Maris, thanks so much for joining us this morning. All right, so for more on this bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery, let's bring in Todd Spangler. He is the business editor at Variety. Todd, good morning to you. Walk me through the details of Paramount's offer and why the company is being so aggressive in its bid for Warner Brothers Discovery.
So Paramount came out on Monday, yesterday, and they said, look, we offered $30 a share for the entire company, and it's 100% cash. So this is a better deal for Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, better than the Netflix bid. That's what they're claiming here. And you ask, why is David Ellison being so aggressive about this? It's really a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get some of these really premium assets. It's one of the biggest Hollywood studios. They've got declining, but still very powerful TV brands like CNN, TBS, Food Network. And the Ellison camp is saying, look, we're going to buy the whole company. We're going to supercharge all parts of the business. And by the way, we are more friendly to movie theaters than Netflix is.
Yeah, so as you said, Paramount has said Warner Brothers would face an easier path to approval over the Netflix deal. How would the regulatory approval processes be different?
So the Netflix deal is not only horizontal, meaning, they would acquire HBO Max and expand their streaming footprint along their huge base of more than 300 million subscribers for the Netflix proper service. But it would also be vertical in that it would expand Netflix's business into production side. They don't have a full-fledged movie studio the way that Warner Brothers Pictures is. So for the Paramount Skydance offer, that would be, strictly horizontal. It would be combining assets that each side already has. So is one cleaner than the other? Again, as commentators have said, including President Trump, it depends on what regulators feel might cross the threshold of too much power. So the Paramount side, David Ellison says, look, this would give Netflix unprecedented market share in the streaming world, which is where the whole entertainment industry is going. They argue that, look, if we couple up with Warner Brothers Discovery, we will be roughly the size of Disney, so we're not going to be as big of a threat in terms of market control and anti-competitive factors like that.
And I think on top of the regulatory process, Paramount also claims that its all-cash offer is better than Netflix's deal for both Warner Brothers Discovery investors and Hollywood at large. So why is that, and how could each of these deals affect the entertainment industry looking bigger picture here?
Yeah, that is definitely spin from the Paramount executives. Who do you believe, right? Netflix says, look, we are definitely pro-consumer. We're pro-creator. This will give us a chance to bring even more TV shows and movies to our members worldwide. It'll give us different ways of packaging these different services. You know, Netflix has pledged to not only continue to release Warner Brothers movies in theaters, but also to continue producing, entertainment for third parties. This is a new business for Netflix, and they say, look, we're not going to buy these Warner Brothers properties just to, choke them off and squeeze them down to nothing. That doesn't make any sense. So that's definitely an incredible argument. But David Ellison is trying to sell to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders that, look, we are movie makers. We are in this business. We have years of experience doing this. And, we know what filmmakers need. We know what all the constituents are looking for in terms of the economic value that this major entertainment company provides.
Yeah, everyone putting their best pitch forward at the time. President Trump, as you mentioned, has said that he will be involved with the merger regardless of which offer wins. So what role could the president play, and how unusual is this?
Yeah, it's really not typical for a president to say, look, I'm going to get personally involved in the approval of a deal like this. But Trump, has broken all kinds of precedents. And, I think he thinks of himself as the deal maker in chief. He wants to be looked at as the kingmaker here. And, I think he's trying to convey that he wants to be fair. He wants to do what's right. But at the end of the day, really, it's about Trump being in the center of approving this major deal that has implications for the industry and for consumers around the world.
Well, we'll all be tuning into this one. Todd Spangler, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a digital divide in the classroom. Why some parents are pushing schools to cut back on screen time. But up first, after the break, panic across Japan after a powerful earthquake. The latest when we come back. Welcome back. A 7.6 earthquake yesterday off the coast of Japan shook buildings, sparked fires, and triggered a tsunami warning. NBC international correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer has the dramatic images.
The powerful earthquake sparking fires near Japan's northern coast, shaking buildings, causing alarms to ring and homes to sway, triggering tsunami waves and panic. The full extent of the damage and injuries still not clear. The magnitude 7.6 quake putting communities on alert up and down the Pacific coast. 90,000 people urged to evacuate to higher ground, and many did. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi saying the government is putting people's lives first. Officials said there were no problems so far at any of Japan's nuclear sites. The earthquake hitting just north of the devastating magnitude 9.0 quake and tsunami back in 2011 that damaged a nuclear plant and killed nearly 20,000 people. Japan, in the so-called Ring of Fire, has 3 times more earthquakes than California. Officials are bracing for aftershocks, but say the tsunami warning is now lifted. The concern now is that a bigger earthquake could strike Japan in the days to come. So officials are warning nearly 200 communities on the coast to be prepared.
In other international news, Ukraine is expected to share an updated peace proposal with the United States later today amid ongoing efforts to end its war with Russia. It comes after European leaders reaffirmed their support for Kyiv following talks with Ukraine's President Zelensky on Monday in London. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter joins us now with more. Molly, walk us through what came out of yesterday's meetings and where things stand right now. What's the latest on these peace efforts?
Emily, good morning. That's right. Ukrainian President Zelensky is on a little bit of a European swing. So yesterday he met with leaders of the UK, with France, with Germany at 10 Downing Street. And as you mentioned, those leaders, part of kind of the coalition of the willing of European leaders that support Zelensky, especially in these negotiations with the Americans and, of course, mostly with the Russians. They expressed their support. He then took questions, actually, from journalists on WhatsApp after the meeting, and he got into some of the details, giving kind of a state of play. So he was asked specifically about kind of those those 28 points, which are now 20 points. He explained that that was whittled down from Geneva to the negotiations in Miami, and those 20 points is what he really talked about with the European allies yesterday. He said they specifically talked about security guarantees and territory, Emily. He said there had been no compromise. And then he said and shared really what we know from watching this and reporting this, is that the Americans want a deal, that President Trump wants a compromise. He wants to get this deal done. And he did say that they're not there yet, but he planned to share their updated position with the White House and with the Americans later today, Emily.
And Molly, to your point, continuing that European swing, President Zelensky also meeting with Pope Leo today. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we just got a couple of pictures. You see them right there on your screen. President Zelensky at Castel Gandolfo, that is the Pope's summer residence, about an hour outside of Rome. He met with the Pope. He'll meet with the Italian Prime Minister Meloni later today. And we did get brief statements from both the Vatican press office and from Zelensky's team about what they talked about. They, of course, spoke about kind of the broader issue of ending the war. But then, Emily, they spoke about an issue that is very close to President Zelensky's heart, one of the most sensitive issues on the negotiating table, and something we know that Pope Leo cares about, and that is the return of Ukrainian children who have been unlawfully deported, who've been kidnapped, sent to Russia, lived under occupation, and they really want the Vatican, the Ukrainians really want the Vatican to play a larger role in mediating the return of those children. We were actually in Rome 2 weeks ago when Pope Leo met with 4 Ukrainian children who had returned from Russia, and so that certainly would have taken up a lot of their conversation earlier this morning. And certainly President Zelensky would have, I think, pushed the Vatican and certainly asked Pope Leo to step in and play a larger role as these negotiations continue. Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Molly, thanks so much. Coming up, a holiday struggle that you may not think about. When we come back, why Christmas celebrations could be difficult for people with food anxiety and what you can do to help. Your weekly check-in is next on Morning News Now. All right, time now for your weekly mental health check-in. We'll start by taking a look at some best practices for hosting friends and family who feel anxious around food. Plus, there's a new study out now about the powerful effect of laughing gas. Dr. George James is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He's also the author of I Give Myself Permission, Take Risks, Be Imperfect, Live Boldly. And he joins us now to help us break down all of that and more. Dr. James, good morning to you. First, let's start with, we mentioned the holidays a moment ago. It's on top of mind for so many people. For many, this season is an exciting time for a lot of hosting and a lot more food. But psychology researchers say it can be a pretty tough period for people who struggle with food anxiety or eating disorders. Dr. James, for viewers watching right now who may have friends and family coming to their homes who are facing these kinds of struggles, what do they need to know to make certain everyone feels comfortable?
Yeah, good morning, Emily. And this is extremely important because our holidays and our gatherings are often centered around food. And we don't really think about how many people might be dealing with some food anxiety or some level of disordered eating. And so one of the things that we can do is to be intentional about it. We don't want to call people out. We don't want to shame them. We don't want to say, why are you only eating that? Or you had so much to eat. If we do have a concern, you want to maybe have a private conversation after the meal, but you want to also maybe even support that person and maybe answer those questions if another family says something. Have boundaries, protect them, but also speak to them individually if you do have some concerns.
Yeah, I think those are really important reminders. Let's switch gears and look at a new study over in the UK that found that controlled doses of laughing gas, also known as nitrous oxide, can provide some relief for people struggling with depression. I guess this makes sense to me. Dr. James, could we see this become an official treatment in the future, and are there warnings around this?
Yeah, so this is something that was recently found out, especially in folks who are dealing with depression, but also treatment-resistant depression, meaning folks who are trying really hard, but also are not really seeing any impact. And so the laughing gas has actually been able to find results, but it's only short-lived, maybe about a week or so before they have to do another level of treatment. But this is really new and exciting and can be something helpful for the future. And so we'll see what will come forward. And it does make sense about laughing, but it's also what happens in the brain and internally. So we'll see what is yet to come with this.
Before you go, I want to talk about Gen Z is reportedly feeling anxious about the office. 38% of young survey respondents say they dread small talk in the workplace. Another 30%, as you see on your screen, even fear picking up the phone. But researchers over at Trinity College in London are dialing up, shall we say, a pretty unique solution. What can you tell us about it?
Yes, for many folks who are a little bit older than Gen Z, they might have been used to getting on the phone and picking up the phone, or even those chit chat conversations at work. And so for Gen Z, one of the things to deal with anxiety from this article is to practice phone calls, maybe with a friend or family, get used to the rhythm, the ebb and flow, being able to even smile when you have a conversation, to know that that's how it feels. And then you can translate that to the workplace to be able to have a conversation and ask people, how are they feeling? What's going on with them, and to ease that anxiety, and also to be able to be better in the workplace.
Yeah, repetition so key there. Dr. George James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
While some London researchers are pushing the importance of picking up the phone for Gen Z, as we just talked about, there is growing concern among parents here in the U.S. about the use of electronics in classrooms. Most states have banned cell phones in class, but the National Center for Education Statistics reports that 88% of schools now provide students with a personal device for digital learning, like a Chromebook laptop or an iPad. We've all seen them. And now some parents are claiming that school-issued devices, which come with mandatory screen time, are leading to behavior problems, especially in younger students. The issue is sparking major pushback in some of the nation's largest school districts, like Los Angeles. Dr. Jenny Rodesky joins me now with more on this. She's a board-certified developmental behavioral pediatrician. Dr. Jenny, good morning to you. I think this is a topic that everyone is talking about in their homes. Los Angeles is one of the first major school districts to face an organized campaign from parents to pull back mandated screen time in the classroom. District officials say they use monitoring software to keep tabs on how students use devices, but some parents say it's not enough. They're worried that screen time is distracting and hurting their child's grades. What can parents do about it?
Yeah, I think this concern is totally reasonable. I mean, when school-issued devices were forced into our households during COVID, we understood there were going to be some bugs, but now it's 5 years later, and there's way too many distractions that are available on these learning devices that have made it really hard. Some of my patients who have ADHD or autism, we've had to write into their learning plans that they need to take breaks from the Chromebooks or maybe not even access it at all because it becomes such a problem in the classroom. They'd so much rather be playing a video game that they find online than doing their schoolwork.
And you look across the country in some school districts like LA, students as young as kindergarten are given devices for screen time learning. So what do you think about this? Should kindergartners be using technology to learn?
I mean, when you're a young kid, you learn best through social interaction and play and hands-on and group learning. Screen-based learning should just be a small, very intentional part of that. I was at a conference recently where a kindergarten teacher came up to me and said, I'm being told by my principal to use PowerPoints and a smart board for my kindergartners, and I just don't feel okay about it. And so leadership in schools really needs to understand that is not how 5-year-old and 6-year-olds learn best. And we should really be very thoughtful about what intentional and evidence-based tech is used for the youngest kids.
And for those younger kids, what kind of tools should be prioritized at that age in those early years in grade school?
I always say anything that ed tech can give you an experience that you can't get in real life. So whether it's watching videos of volcanoes exploding or spaceships taking off or something else that can't otherwise be displayed through your classroom, you want to augment the learning that you're doing. You don't want to replace it.
And let's look forward, right? How can tech in the classroom impact young kids, not just in the next 1 to 2 years, but long term here?
You know, this is kind of an experiment. We don't really know. I think a couple important things to think about is one, if we use it in the wrong ways, like it becomes a learning shortcut for kids, it becomes a way that they soothe themselves or are occupied during the day when they're feeling bored, that is not a healthy long-term relationship with screens. And I would recommend that that be something that schools are intentionally trying to do less of. I do think that this is a concern many parents have, so I recommend that they monitor what their kids are doing on their school-issued devices through those monitoring apps and software. You'll see that there's a lot of distractions that are available, so bring those to the leadership in your schools and say, I really want to work with you on this to figure out a technical solution to have fewer distractions. There's also a learning session from the NTIA, that's the National Telecommunications and Informatics Administration, happening tomorrow. So parents can go to ntia.gov and join in that tomorrow so they can express their family's experience too.
Dr. Jenny Radesky, thanks so much for weighing in on this and joining me this morning. All right, let's get to the morning's biggest financial headlines. Google has thrown its hat into the smart glasses ring. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Emily, I don't get to say this much, but good morning, Em. I love it.
I know. It's almost kind of weird. Emily squared here on the desk. Good morning to you, Emily. Nice to see you. So this is a big move here for Google. The company is launching smart glasses. Google says it's developing 2 new AI-powered models for release next year, one with screens and one that is audio focused. The first pair, built with partners including Samsung and Warby Parker, is set to arrive in 2026. Meta, Snap, and Apple are also preparing new wearables, though there are reports of Meta delaying its new mixed reality glasses, codenamed Phoenix, to 2027. Speaking of Meta, the tech giant just got EU approval for its updated pay or consent model. Starting next month, the company will use less personal data for targeted advertising, a change made after Meta was fined more than $200 million for violating Europe's Digital Markets Act. Europe has been cracking down on big tech and how companies use data. This means Meta will not face daily fines after all. Finally, Fritos, Cheetos, and Lay's chips might see lower price tags in the future, but you also might be missing some of your favorite items from shelves. PepsiCo has struck a deal with activist investor Elliott Investment Management to reboot its slowing food business. PepsiCo will cut costs, trim its product lineup by 20%, and lower prices on some items next year as consumers struggle with affordability. The company is in reset mode, closing plants, cutting jobs, and adding new higher protein and fiber options. And Emily, I don't know if you've tried the new Simply Naked line. It rolled out this month, but they've also removed artificial flavors and dyes from some of their snacks. I did get a chance to try some of them. Makes you feel a lot healthier when there isn't that cheesy orange flavoring on your fingers.
I'll have to go for it. I don't take away my Lay's chips though, right? Like I need those. I need that crunch.
They definitely can't do that.
All right, Emily, thanks so much. Coming up on Morning News Now, a final cheers for an iconic watering hole and its legendary owner.
94.
Can we take a photo with you?
It has to be quick. It's getting full in here.
It's where everybody knows his name. When we come back, we'll take you to Seattle just in time for last call at this popular bar after 60 plus years in business. You're watching Morning News Now. All right, we end this hour with the last call for an iconic Seattle bar. After more than 6 decades serving drinks, the bar's owner is shutting it down. The 94-year-old told reporter Jim Nelson from our Seattle affiliate station that he has big plans for his next chapter.
At Seattle's last Roadhouse.
Can you guys hear us out there? All right. Well, welcome to the Shanty.
A capacity crowd
$10 cover
piles in on a Friday, the only night they're open.
2 Sauvignon Blancs. Special night.
The band belts out a familiar question that so many have pondered, but not behind the bar.
I'm only 94.
John Spaccarotelli has been pouring drinks for 6 decades.
What?
Can we take a photo with you?
It has to be quick.
That's what brought us here.
Well, I didn't know you were coming.
You see, the Shanty is a family business.
Dana! Dana!
Yeah, including daughters Dana and Darcy.
It's our life. We don't know any different. He's had it before we were born, so it is like another sibling.
The bar opened in 1935. John took over in 1961.
You don't have to go downtown. You don't have to go to Ballard.
Here, it's about community.
He gets that one free. I'll just put yours on here. Keep it open. Talk to people. And make a dollar or two.
But it's hard work. And so, in 2 weeks, John's retiring and closing Seattle's last Roadhouse. His sweetheart.
She takes a lot of my time. So when I got Mr. Sean at home, sometimes I'm a little lax. Then I have ketchup at home. And not on French fries either.
Time to catch up on life.
I play the piano a little bit. I practice, yeah. That's another thing. I need more time on the piano.
The end of one chapter.
Keep on chucking.
Just the beginning of the next.
It's getting full in here.
Oh, I love that. Jim Nelson, thanks for sharing John's story. The last scheduled show at the Shanty Tavern is set for December 19th. The final party is tentatively planned for January. All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. All right now on Morning News Now, a positively brutal cold snap putting the ice on millions this morning, blankets of snow and record-breaking low temps. Snarling airport travel across the nation with thousands of delays piling up just yesterday. And get this, we're still more than a week away from the official start of winter. Our Angie Lastman is standing by with your full forecast as you head out the door. Also this morning, President Trump on the road again for the first time in months. He's set to travel to battleground Pennsylvania today with America's economy on the mind. That's after he announced a $12 billion aid package to farmers while blaming President Biden for an affordability crunch that many of them face. Nonetheless, NBC News polling shows a majority of Americans placing the blame on the current White House for price tag pains. How Republicans are now looking to right the ship before next year's critical midterm elections. Plus, the celebrity scams that have been fleecing fans out of billions of dollars this year, why the worrying rise of AI deepfakes might just have you thinking twice before shelling out some serious cash for your favorite stars. And later in the hour, the confection controversy swirling around those classic chocolatey treats this holiday season. Why rising cocoa prices now have some sweet-toothed consumers wondering, am I getting the real deal? We start this hour once again with that powerful line of winter storms that are making their way across the country. Tens of millions of Americans all along the East Coast, from Florida to Maine, are waking up to bone-chilling temperatures, 10 to 15 degrees below average for this time of year. Meanwhile, the Midwest and Great Lakes regions of the country are being hit with storms out of Canada, bringing Arctic air and the possibility of an additional 8 inches of snow. People in Chicago say they feel like this is the beginning of a long winter.
So I've been in Chicago, I think, 4 years now, and since I moved here, it's not been this bad.
It definitely seems like a little bit more than normal.
We are going to get a lot of snow this year. I can feel it.
And they are right. Experts say this is the snowiest start to winter in Chicago in nearly 50 years. NBC's Erin McLaughlin joins us from Poughkeepsie, New York, where temperatures are in the single digits. Erin, good morning. How are you holding up? I see all the layers.
I can tell you, Emily, this is a cold that really cuts to the bone. In fact, I can barely feel my face right now. You mentioned it was single digits earlier in the morning. That has now climbed to a shocking 10 degrees, and forecasters say this is just the beginning. Winter is more than a week away.
This morning, a new Arctic punch, leaving millions out in the cold, as inch after inch of powder blankets communities throughout the mid-Atlantic and beyond.
Getting snow today.
With some cities feeling the freeze, temps 10 to 20 degrees below normal. The icy blast leaving roads slick and dangerous, while turning this commute into a drive through a real-life snow globe. In the Northwest, an atmospheric river event bringing heavy rains and flooding. The brutal weather contributing to chaos at airports across the country, with more than 5,000 flight delays piling up on Monday.
We are going to get a lot of snow this year. I can feel it.
All this with less than 2 weeks to go until winter officially kicks off. Residents in Chicago digging out from the weekend's weather, while city leaders in Boston already outlining their plan to keep residents safe in the months ahead.
There are 175 pieces of snow clearing equipment in-house, and contractors standing by to deploy an additional 800 pieces of equipment in the event of a larger storm.
And while folks in the Rockies are no strangers to snow, Authorities in Colorado are sounding the alarm, with dozens of dangerous avalanches reported in recent days.
We're still seeing a lot of the state sitting at considerable avalanche danger.
While some try to make the most of a frigid situation.
Yeah. We're actually planning on getting ice cream after, so. Yeah. maybe a nice coffee, too.
And for those of you breaking out your space heaters in these frigid temps, we do have some safety tips. Experts say make sure there is a 3-foot perimeter around that heating device. Avoid using extension cords and make sure you turn it off. Emily?
Yeah, important tips. I just pulled out my space heater last night. Erin, get inside, get warm. Thank you so much. For more on the weather conditions near you, meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now. Angie, good morning. It's still cold outside.
Yeah, breaking news. Still cold, Emily. We've got temperatures well into the 20s in some locations, feeling like those single digits. In one of those spots, Detroit this morning, waking up and getting out the door, brutal, just 8 degrees. We've got teens for what it feels like in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, 20s for Charleston, New York City flirting with those low 20s, and Boston feeling like 5 degrees. So some cooler temperatures will be here to stay, at least for the extended period in some spots. So we'll notice that across the east here, as we get into the afternoon hours, still going to be below normal, and we top out just into those low 30s for Pittsburgh, as well as Boston and Richmond. Columbia ends up into the mid 40s. But it's across parts of the plains and really the Rockies that we'll see kind of milder conditions settling in for the short term. And I say short term because look what's to come. This is a look at tomorrow in the afternoon hours. You can see Bismarck, Sioux Falls, seeing those temperatures dropping and brutal cold, another surge of it at least, sliding in. Farther to the south, though, Denver, you'll actually make it into the upper 50s tomorrow. So actually running well above normal for this time of year. And then you can see across parts of, again, the mountainous regions, Salt Lake City ends up at 57 degrees. So a bit of a mixed bag before we really see the bottom drop out as we get into the end of the work week and early parts of the weekend. 17 in Minneapolis on Thursday, down to 1 degree for the actual temperature on Saturday. It's just 10 degrees in Milwaukee on Saturday, 19 for Indianapolis, and 25 for Pittsburgh. So you get the picture. Some more cold air is going to be kind of working its way in. But ahead of that, we've got some winter alerts up. 22 million people. They span across parts of the plains, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. And we've got a couple of things happening right now. So this first batch of some snow working across the Great Lakes. And then we've got the plains that are seeing some of that kind of wintry mix. So it's the rain, the snow, and some of that freezing rain that we're going to see through the day today. So this Clipper system, it's going to be a fast mover, but it is going to work into the northern plains today. And that brings snow anywhere from Michigan to North Dakota. By tomorrow, all of that snow and a bit of that rain works to the east. So we've got the Northeast dealing with a mix of both of those things. I think along the I-95 corridor, more likely to see rain. And then everywhere else, it's going to be the snowfall that's going to slow you down. And if that's not enough, we've also got an atmospheric river happening, kind of unfolding across parts of the Pacific Northwest, just ushering in all of that moisture to our friends there. And this is going to leave us with those flood watches up today. Additional rain throughout the day today, and we'll watch for that widespread significant river flooding. It's already underway, and we're likely to see that last here into the rest of today, potentially into tomorrow for folks there.
Yeah, weather coast to coast. So what you're telling me is today is not the right day to have forgotten my hat.
Oh, somebody didn't call me before they left the house.
Yeah, I got to do that 3 a.m. phone call. Expect it tomorrow.
I hope you have a hood.
All right. I do. All right. Thanks, Angie.
You
so
got
much.
it.
Moving to politics now, President Trump is traveling to battleground Pennsylvania today. He's expected to tout his record on the economy amid recent polling that shows a majority of Americans say his administration has fallen short on inflation and cost of living. It's a concern for Republicans ahead of next year's midterm elections. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us now with the latest. Hey there, Peter.
Emily, good morning to you. Just days after his election, President Trump set the bar by which his presidency should be measured on immigration, and he said on prices. But when it comes to the cost of living, Americans are widely dissatisfied with his handling of the job. And with next year's critical midterms looming, the president's allies acknowledge he needs to change that perception.
President Trump, for the first time since the summer, is hitting the road to tout his economic agenda and announcing a new move to help some of his key supporters, a $12 billion aid package for farmers, paid for by tariff revenues.
They want just to have a level playing field.
The president is blaming his predecessor for challenges facing farmers, but many have been squeezed by Trump's trade war, with foreign markets for their products restricted and prices for equipment rising. Consumers have also been concerned about prices, especially for groceries, which have gotten increasingly expensive in recent years. Nearly a year into President Trump's term, the price of eggs, a key Trump campaign point, has gone down, but the cost of other items like beef and orange juice is up. In a recent NBC News poll, 66% of Americans believe the administration has fallen short of expectations on inflation and the cost of living. Democrats are trying to capitalize.
Donald Trump didn't do a damn thing to lower the high cost of living. Why? Because they don't give a damn about everyday Americans.
After election losses this fall, President Trump said his party needed to talk more about affordability, but since then has repeatedly dismissed it.
Affordability is a hoax that was started by Democrats.
Yesterday, again blaming Democrats.
Democrats caused the affordability problem, and we're the ones that are fixing it.
At that same appearance, the president getting questioned on another key issue facing his administration, those September strikes against an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Caribbean, after saying he'd be fine with releasing video of the controversial second strike that killed survivors of the first.
Whatever they have, we certainly release, no problem.
The president was asked about it yesterday, now deferring to his defense secretary.
Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
As he prepares to hit the road today, in a new interview with Politico, President Trump rated the U.S. economy under his leadership as an A+ and insisted prices for consumers are coming down, even as Americans say they are still feeling the pinch of high prices. Emily, back to you.
Peter, thanks. Here in New York, the pre-trial hearing for murder suspect Luigi Mangione continues. A Pennsylvania police officer took the stand yesterday to offer key testimony. She found crucial evidence against Mangione during his arrest 1 year ago to the day today. And we're now getting new images of what she discovered. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk has the details. Hey, Steph.
Luigi Mangione was sick last week, but he was back in court on Monday for some critical testimony. A police officer who searched his backpack. The defense team is saying everything she found in there, all of the evidence, should be tossed out before the state murder trial.
This morning, newly released photos show a close-up of a silencer on the gun prosecutors say Luigi Mangione used to kill healthcare CEO Brian Thompson as the accused killer's pretrial hearing enters a second week. Taking the stand Monday, Christy Wasser, one of the police officers who searched his backpack in Altoona, Pennsylvania, the morning he was arrested. Body cam footage shown in court revealing what she pulled out of the bag, including a fully loaded magazine clip, wrapped, Wasser said, in wet gray underwear. Officer Wasser also discovered what prosecutors called a Faraday bag, designed to block electromagnetic signals like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, that contained a cell phone, debit cards, and a passport. There was also a red notebook, a handwritten checklist dated the day after the shooting, reminding him to change his hat, pluck his eyebrows, and take the bus to Penn Station, as well as a map showing cities including Pittsburgh, Toledo, Cincinnati, and St. Louis, described by the prosecution as possible escape routes.
The fact that he's handwriting out is his steps, putting maps together on paper. This is someone who's looking to stay off the grid at some point and to keep from having to go onto a web browser.
The defense wants everything found in the backpack tossed out, arguing it was all obtained during an illegal warrantless search. Prosecutors say it was justified because officers were concerned about safety. Officer Wasser testifying she was worried there might be a bomb in the bag. But during cross-examination, the defense questioning whether she really thought there was danger, asking, "Did you clear the McDonald's?" Wasser responded, "No."
Also found on that handwritten note pulled out of the backpack, a message that read, "Keep momentum, FBI slower overnight." Now, the hearing resumes today. Mangione expected back in court, and it's supposed to last at least until the end of the week. Back to you.
Stephanie, thank you. And staying on the entertainment front, a new report out details how scammers posing as celebrities online bilked fans out of billions of dollars. For how these scams work, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz, who is in Los Angeles and joins us now with the details. Hey, Liz, good morning to you.
Hi, Emily. Good morning. Well, these scams are definitely not new, but the problem is only getting bigger. According to a new report, most of these scams are happening on popular social media outlets where an alarming number of users are falling victim to bad actors using AI and deep fakes to prey on the loyalty of celebrity fans.
This morning, an urgent new warning about a rise in scams using your favorite celebrities as bait. Whether it's Taylor Swift giving out free concert tickets, Sabrina Carpenter offering a meet and greet, or Johnny Depp reaching out to just say hi. If it seems too good to be true, well, it most likely is. According to a report released by cybersecurity company Spikers, which monitors social media for celebrities and analyzes data from the FBI and private agencies, online scammers have fleeced fans out of $5.3 billion this year.
We've seen impersonations and phishing happening. Why? Because it's lucrative.
According to Spikers, musicians are the most likely to be impersonated. The top three artists, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, and Billie Eilish. The report also found 1 in 5 tickets sold over social media are fake, either part of a phishing attack or from a seller who later disappeared.
He sent me a picture of him saying, "Hi, this is Cooper Allen. Nice to meet you."
67-year-old Roxanne thought she was chatting with her favorite country music star, Cooper Allen, even shelling out $200 for a concert ticket she never got.
It broke my heart, and I felt like a fool.
And she's far from alone. A scam impersonating Johnny Depp reportedly swindled one fan out of $350,000, prompting Depp to post a warning on his social media. According to the report, 72% of Americans have seen fake celebrity endorsements. 39% have clicked on a link for at least one of them, and 10% have lost money or personal data as a result. Experts say artificial intelligence has changed the game, making it easier for hackers and harder for fans to identify the real deal from fake scam artists.
These deep fake videos and the rapidly evolving technology just makes these sorts of scams that much more convincing than they would be otherwise.
Now, it's important to remember that these scammers are often very sophisticated and can create very real-looking accounts. And it's often not even the actual celebrity reaching out, but someone posing as a member of their team, which can make it harder sometimes to identify. Experts say you should look out for getting private messages from these accounts, urgent language, and anyone asking for money. Those are all really big red flags, Emily.
Yeah, Liz, absolutely. The new unfortunate era of scams. Thanks so much. More to come this morning on Morning News Now, including ABC's latest move to keep late night's Jimmy Kimmel on the airwaves. But first, after the break, pulling the plug? Why, the humble landline's demise could come a lot sooner than you'd think. Don't hang up on us. We'll explain next. Welcome back. As cell phone plans and internet-based calling become the norm, traditional landlines are increasingly becoming a thing of the past. And now one of the nation's largest wireless providers says that soon the technology used for more than a century will be gone for good. So are landlines soon to be ancient history? Well, let's dial up NBC's senior correspondent Tom Costello. Tom, I'm calling you from my cell phone right now. Say it ain't so.
Hey, Emily, you know, it's hard to believe, but the shift from landlines to cell phones really only happened at the turn of the century. And the iPhone, it's not even 20 years old yet. Meanwhile, we've been seeing landlines fading out in recent years, and now we may be close to cutting the cord on this iconic piece of Americana.
Love them or hate them, landlines have been a household and pop culture staple for generations. But just like pagers, VHS, and DVDs, landline phones are increasingly becoming a thing of the past. And now, in a sign of changing times, AT&T says it's ending traditional landline service across all of Illinois, with plans to pull the plug on existing copper-wired landline service in 2027, as it upgrades its system to newer, less expensive options, including fiber optic networks. And it's not just Illinois. Come 2029, AT&T says it'll end copper-wired landline service throughout most of the country.
This is how we used to communicate with other humans before cell phones.
One recent study says more than 70% of U.S. adults now rely solely on wireless phones. And AT&T says orders for traditional landline voice services have decreased by 96% since 2014. Fewer than 2% of eligible customers are still using the technology. But not everyone's ready to ditch landlines just yet.
We have a landline in the house. Our phone rings. My kids are like, what's that sound? What is that noise?
Many loyalists say it's a comfort if there's an emergency. And while AT&T tells NBC News that no customer will lose access to voice or 911 service, experts say the concern remains real.
The concern is at the worst possible time, the phone won't work.
And there are some younger users, too, with some kids embracing the retro technology as more parents want to dial back their kids' dependence on smartphones.
Parents, it's time. Let's bring back the landlines.
And even with the change underway, some folks simply aren't ready to hang it all up.
My dad will keep it. He will keep it.
By the way, AT&T isn't the only telecom company that's doing this. Others, including Verizon, are also phasing out those traditional copper wire landlines. But AT&T says this will be a slow, multi-year process. It's committed to ensuring that customers are not left without access to 911. And by the way, they should be able to keep their phone numbers as they keep their phone, but maybe they shift to the new technology. Emily, back to you.
All right, so we got some time, you're saying. Thanks so much, Tom. Developing news this morning out of the Middle East. Israel's military says it just struck Hezbollah infrastructure in Lebanon. NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us now from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Hey there, Claudio.
Good morning, Emily. That's right. Early this morning, the IDF said they carried out several strikes on infrastructures used by Hezbollah in several areas in southern Lebanon, including a compound Israel says was used by Hezbollah members to train them to carry out attacks against Israel. Now, this latest strikes come as both Israel and Hezbollah accuse each other of repeatedly violating the ceasefire they agreed upon a year ago. Let's go now to the Louvre in Paris, where on Monday, workers voted to go on strike to protest their work conditions and security weaknesses highlighted by the October crown jewel heist. Worker unions said the lack of staffing are forcing the closure of some displays and also called for building improvements after a water leak at the end of November damaged hundreds of publications in the museum, where clearly the Louvre is still in deep water. And let's end this tour of the world in Argentina, where almost 2,400 golden retrievers and their owners, of course, gathered in a park in Buenos Aires. Organizers said the gathering broke the previous informal world record of the largest ever gathering of golden retrievers.
Claudio, but can I just say that can we still go to that event if we don't have a golden retriever? Because it is so cute. Look at that, wearing a Messi jersey. Look at those faces. They look like they're smiling. Absolute cuteness. Every one of those dogs prize-worthy. Okay, coming up, it's being dubbed the Great Exit from offices across America. Why rising childcare costs are now forcing more working mothers to walk off the job. That's next on Morning News Now. And we're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with the Supreme Court case that could vastly expand presidential power. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins us now with more on this and other headlines from Washington. Melanie, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Emily. We begin with that significant Supreme Court case about presidential power. The court is hearing a case about whether President Trump had the authority to fire a member of the Federal Trade Commission, an independent agency that is supposed to be insulated from political pressures. Congress passed a law in 1914 that says FTC members can only be removed for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. But the conservative majority court appears poised to side with Trump, arguing that the FTC exercises more executive power than it used to, and therefore the president should have more authority over it. A ruling in favor of Trump would have broad repercussions, not just for the FTC, but also for a host of other independent federal agencies. Next, Congress is trying to get its hands on the controversial boat strike videos. Lawmakers included a provision in their annual defense policy bill that withholds Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget until the Pentagon turns over the unedited videos of the Venezuelan boat strikes. Some members were briefed last week on the double tap strike conducted against a suspected drug smuggling boat off the coast of Latin America, and they were shown unedited video footage of the operation. The Trump administration, though, is not yet committed to releasing the videos publicly, citing potential safety concerns for troops. The House will vote on its defense bill Wednesday, followed by the Senate. And finally, everything's bigger in Texas, including the political fights. Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has officially jumped into the Texas Senate race, shaking up the Democratic primary. Crockett is known as a firebrand on Capitol Hill and has been directly criticized by Trump, which she featured in her campaign launch video. She'll face off against Democratic State Rep James Tallarico in what is likely to become a bruising primary. Meanwhile, Republican Senator John Cornyn is facing multiple primary challenges of his own. Democrats have not won a statewide race in Texas in more than 30 years, but they have been eyeing next year's Senate race as a potential pickup opportunity, especially if Cornyn is toppled in a primary. And that's what's making news and politics this morning. Emily?
Mel, thanks for wrapping it all up for us. This morning, we're taking a closer look at a concerning trend in the U.S. job market. More women are being forced to leave their jobs to help offset the rising cost of childcare. In fact, a new report revealed that childcare costs are rising faster than inflation. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans explains how it's putting a strain on American families.
Called the Great Exit, or the silent reversal, an alarming trend in the American job market. After decades of gains, working mothers are leaving the labor force.
This is a lifestyle issue, a stress issue, and something's got to give. And so the thing that went was the job.
Ryan Smith lives in Oregon, a perinatal mental health specialist with 2 young children. She and her husband just couldn't make the math work. 24 hours before we interviewed her, she submitted a letter of resignation to her employer.
I feel there's finally a stillness and a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think I just also am sad that it's come to this. I think it's that dichotomy of like always having to make hard choices as a parent.
Hard choices like paying for childcare and finding balance.
You just needed a little more flexibility from your employer, and you were just up against a wall. You were.
Yeah. I felt backed into a corner. I felt like they were constantly having me make a choice between taking care of my family or doing the work. Unfortunately, this organization and a lot of organizations out there do not have that flexibility.
Research from the Bank of America Institute shows childcare costs rising 1.5 times faster than inflation. And since federal relief for childcare during COVID-19 ended in October 2023, families are scrambling to find quality, low-cost care. For many, flexible COVID work policies relieved some of that pressure, but hybrid and flexible schedules are becoming more rare. President Trump ordered federal employees back to the office 5 days a week in January of this year, and in the private sector, Meta, the latest to announce its employees must work 5 days a week in the office starting next year, following a similar wave of Fortune 500 companies that have already done so, like Amazon, JP Morgan, AT&T, and dozens of others. Return to office requirements jumped 24% in the second quarter this year alone. Diane Swank is the chief economist of KPMG. She says high childcare costs and return to work policies disproportionately affect one group.
We're seeing women leaving the workforce, especially those women who have a bachelor's degree and a child under 5.
In what her team dubs the Great Exit, they found women with a BA or higher and young children have the largest decline in labor force participation over the past 2 years. Last week, the Trump administration answering the call for help from families, announcing a new type of savings account for children that also comes with a one-time donation of $1,000 from the federal government.
You don't want to throw out something that's good, but we need much more to be able to ensure that the economy is delivering for everyone, and especially young families. And this isn't necessarily a choice made only because the woman wants to be home. It's a choice they're being forced to make because of a lack of childcare.
Ryan considers herself lucky to have help from family with childcare.
I tried to make it work, and it still was not enough.
She joined a nonprofit pushing for affordable childcare, the Chamber of Mothers. Lauren Smith Brody is a co-founder.
But it is so solvable. It's solvable by private sector stepping up with the right benefits, with the right policies, with the right flexibility.
Because she says these women want to do the work.
It's not an individual choice. It's a system that is broken and not working for them.
It was a hard decision. I want to support other people and take care of other people.
And find a place in the workforce where she can afford to take care of her family, too. Christine Romans, NBC News.
Coming up, there's a confection controversy making dessert a little bittersweet this holiday season. When Morning News Now returns, why some of the biggest names in chocolate are now shaking up their delicious delicacies, leaving one key ingredient out in the cold. That's next. Stick with us. We're back now with another shocking way thieves are targeting homes. This time it's not using sophisticated technology, but a simpler yet even more brazen tactic, tracking obituaries. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the details.
From the security video, this looks like a typical home break-in. You can see an alleged thief walking up to a house near San Jose, California, and then hours later walking out the front door carrying a safe. But the family that owns the home believes it was chosen for a unique and disturbing reason. John Tuttle says 2 days earlier, his family had posted an obituary for his mother-in-law who lived there in the local newspaper.
To have this happen to her home after her death, it's just adding insult to injury.
Tuttle says the thieves used an axe to break into a sliding glass door, making off with sterling silverware and the safe, which was empty. And they're not alone. Last month, this woman says one day after she posted her father's obituary, burglars targeted his home.
It's vile. I feel very violated.
In Detroit, authorities say this man pled guilty to using obituaries to find his targets, telling NBC News they identified him after luring him to a home using a fake obit. And in New York, a woman dubbed the Obit Bandit is currently serving an 11-year sentence for targeting half a dozen grieving families while they were away at funerals. Experts say criminals are putting a new spin on an old tactic.
It's easy to look in the obits and see, oh, this person had money. But now in the age of internet and AI, you can go in their social media, you could target what's in the house.
And to prevent this, experts say you should make sure a home appears lived in by leaving a light on or a car in the driveway and install an alarm system. Back to you.
Liz Kreutz, thanks so much. This morning, we're digging into a not-so-subtle change to a sweet holiday tradition. I'm talking about chocolate. If you've noticed some chocolate candies don't quite taste the same as they used to, your taste buds are correct. NBC News Chief and Consumer Investigative Correspondent Vicki Nguyen looked into what's going on behind the scenes with some of the biggest chocolate makers, right?
Totally. And if you notice something was a little off with your favorite chocolate bar, it's not your imagination. Good morning to you. Chocolate is changing. It's leaving a bitter taste for many. Experts say the high price of cocoa is causing some brands to swap in different ingredients. But at what cost to consumers? This morning, a look at real chocolate versus fake chocolate and how they compare in a Today Show taste test.
Rich, creamy, sweet, and smooth. At least that's what you want your chocolate to taste like. But these days,
chocolate candy that we used to eat growing up just doesn't taste the same.
Went to my favorite chocolaterie. They all tasted the same. Bland.
It does not taste right. It tastes different.
Turns out it's not your imagination. Experts say more brands are removing cocoa, the essential ingredient in real chocolate, because of its skyrocketing cost, more than double what it was just 3 years ago. Rich Hartel studies chocolate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
What are some common ways manufacturers cut costs?
Cocoa butter is probably the most expensive component in chocolate. So if you can replace some of the cocoa butter with a different, cheaper fat, then you're saving money.
Hartel says some brands are turning to less expensive vegetable oils and swapping out cocoa for more sugar. He says that impacts the taste as well as the labeling. Without cocoa, it can't be called chocolate under FDA rules. Instead, products say chocolate flavor, chocolate taste, or chocolate-y.
I cannot do that. I cannot do that with the reputation that we have.
High-end chocolatier Jack Torres says he's coping with higher cocoa costs by adding less expensive nuts to cut down on the real chocolate in his treats.
So it will be a tiny bit less chocolate, a little bit more nuts, but we stay always very reasonable.
What do you think about the big companies that reformulate their chocolates? Do you think the fake chocolate will ever taste as good as the real thing?
I tried fake wine, I tried fake beer. To me, it's never as good as the original.
But tech CEO Matthias Muchnick begs to differ. His company, Notco, created chocolate with no cocoa at all, using AI technology to reverse engineer the recipe.
We have trained an algorithm to replicate exactly the favorite chocolate that you always loved.
He says their faux chocolate is made with plant-based ingredients like carob, shea butter, and malt extract to look, melt, and taste like the real thing. They've already partnered with major chocolate brands like Barry Callebaut and Magnum to use their formula, a move he says could lower the price of chocolate products by 30%.
Your favorite cookies, all the way to your favorite ice creams, chocolate bars, candy bars.
How revolutionary do you think this will be if it gets off the ground and becomes mainstream?
I think we have a high chance of being the ones that actually saved chocolate for the rest of humanity.
Muchnick says they use this popular milk chocolate bar as the taste benchmark for their fake one. To find out how they compare, we went to some hungry chocolate fans, our Today Show anchors.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love chocolate?
12. If I'm going to have a candy, it's in the chocolate family.
In a blind and unscientific test, we had each of them try the actual chocolate.
Tasted like, mouthfeel-wise, more like real chocolate.
I mean, if that's not real chocolate, I don't know what is.
Then the fake bar, and opinions mixed.
Creamy. It's just a little thicker than regular chocolate to me.
This one, when you bite it, it has more flavor pops. It tastes like a stale piece of chocolate to me.
Kind of tastes like a protein shake.
Has a little bit of a weird consistency.
In the end, all of our anchors preferred the real chocolate, but said the fake stuff has potential.
Both were great, but I don't know I would have known if you hadn't put it side by side.
It's good enough. It's definitely close enough. And it has all of the flavors.
If you were just to eat that one by itself.
You would never know. You would never know the difference.
And we shared our results with Notco's CEO, who told us they are continually improving their formulas and that our impressions were helpful. He said expect to see their fake chocolate in real products very, very soon. And I just think this is so fascinating, Emily, because this is the future of food.
What's crazy to me is you just add a Y, chocolatey, and that can carry so much meaning.
Exactly. I think consumers should trust their taste buds, check the ingredient list, and look carefully at those labels.
Especially this holiday season. Okay, Vicki, thanks so much.
You bet.
All right, more business news now, and fans of late-night legend Jimmy Kimmel won't need to fret about his future on TV, at least for now. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Hey there, Em.
Hey, Emily, good morning. It's, of course, a show that's faced a lot of controversy this past year, but it is staying put. Jimmy Kimmel has signed a one-year extension at ABC to continue hosting the network's flagship late-night talk show. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News this comes after the host was briefly suspended in September due to his remarks about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kimmel's show, like others in late night, has faced shrinking viewership, but he just posted his biggest audience in years as he hit back at attacks from President Trump, averaging nearly 2 million viewers each night in the third quarter, according to Nielsen. Now Kimmel will continue to be live through May 2027. And a major move in aviation, Boeing has officially taken back Spirit Aerosystems, which is not related to Spirit Airlines, in a $4.7 billion deal. The supplier builds key structures for Boeing's 737 MAX, including the Alaska Airlines jet that suffered a door panel blowout last year. Boeing says bringing Spirit back in-house is aimed at boosting quality and safety after years of manufacturing problems and heightened scrutiny regarding past MAX crashes. Finally, McDonald's is tightening its rules on value, reportedly announcing new franchising standards that will judge how well restaurants price their menus starting in 2026. The company says it wants every restaurant to deliver consistent and reliable value as customers watching their wallets pull back. Chains in the fast food industry are trying to balance traffic with profitability amid pressure on low-income diners. But Emily, one thing McDonald's has no problem selling, its viral holiday-themed Grinch meal, which has customers in a frenzy right now. Emily, it comes with socks and also Grinch dill pickle flavored seasoning for your fries, and so people are obsessed right now trying to get their hands on that.
Yeah, it's the socks for me. I'm gonna have to give it a try for sure. Thanks so much. The Hollywood Awards season is now officially underway after the 2026 Golden Globe nominations were announced yesterday. The early morning ceremony was hosted by Marlon Wayans and Sky P. Marshall, who announced the nominees for the 28 categories, which cover both television and film. And the Leonardo DiCaprio film, one battle after another, picked up the most nominations with 9. The Norwegian dramedy Sentimental Value came in second with 8 nods. And finally, the script-flipping horror film Sinners came in third with 7 nominations. For more on the nominations, let's bring in Ralphie Aversa, who is the host and producer of USA Today's Entertain This. Okay, Ralphie, let's start with the big winners. Are you surprised by anything here?
Well, I think one surprise is this new Avatar installment, Avatar 3, which doesn't come out until December 19th, is already nominated in the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. Hasn't grossed a single dollar yet, but if you dig into the rules of the category, there are allowed to be projections for the nominations. And if we project what this next Avatar is going to make based on the last 2, well, it'll make over $2 billion. So clearly then it is deserving. I think another interesting thing as we move into some of the snubs is the fact that, Timothée Chalamet received a nomination for Marty Supreme. Gwyneth Paltrow, his co-star, did not. Song Sung Blue, of course, Kate Hudson receiving a nomination. Her co-star, Hugh Jackman, not so much.
Okay, so these nominations effectively kick off the award season and can be sometimes a bellwether for the Oscars and Emmys. Any thoughts on how closely the nominations will align?
Well, it's interesting. On the TV front, there really isn't too much of a crossover between the Television Academy voting block and then the block of journalists that vote on the Golden Globe. So that could, spell good news for a show like White Lotus. Didn't really do so well at the Emmys. It's got 6 nominations leading all TV shows, so perhaps it'll do better this time around here with the Golden Globes. Now, as we flip that to the Oscars, it certainly can be an indicator. We saw that just last year with Adrian Brody, who won his first Golden Globe for The Brutalist and then went on to win the Oscar. Sometimes it's not, though. We also saw that last year with Demi Moore, who won for The Substance, the Golden Globe, but then, of course, did not win the Oscar. Mikey Madison won with Honora.
And look, this really caught my attention because it seems like everyone's listening to a podcast. It seems like everyone has a podcast. And this is the first year they introduce a podcast category. Who might win that award for the very first time?
Well, we could tell you one person that's not going to win it, and that's Joe Rogan, because he's not nominated. And that is, I think, a bit of a shock and certainly a snub as well, given the popularity of his podcast. Now, look, just because something is popular doesn't mean it should be award-winning, but I think that is a big shock and certainly a snub that Joe is not in that category. Look, Alex Cooper, obviously, and Call Her Daddy has been such a movement, and what that show has done now on Sirius, spawning off its own channel, certainly I think Alex would be a front runner in the category.
Yeah, and Good Hang, really interesting to see that pod on there. It's really exploded in recent months. I want to quickly ask you about the studios. Independent studio Neon received 21 overall nominations, the most of any studio. So what's the story there?
Well, Sentimental Value is one of its films that it's distributing with 8 nominations. Elle Fanning, one of the actresses, receiving a nomination in that film as well. Neon has been a darling of award season. Parasite was one of its films, a Best Picture winner. Another Best Picture winner just last year, Honora, and we saw how that cleaned up at the Oscars. So it'll be interesting to see how its films fare this time around with, as you mentioned, those 21 nods.
Okay, Ralphie Aversa, thank you so much. The 83rd Annual Golden Globes will be hosted by Nikki Glaser and air on CBS on Sunday, January 11th. Coming up, you could call it the new big thing in Deck the Halls decor. Why some jolly-minded Americans are going to great lengths, some would even say to the North Pole and back, for one special Santa that's vanishing from shelves across the country this holiday season. I'll explain next. We're back with a different kind of nightmare before Christmas. As Americans decorate their homes for the season, there's one lawn ornament that's getting harder to find. I'm talking about those iconic giant Santas. The massive lawn decorations are largely sold out online, and many of them are not available in stores. Now, some customers are doing everything they can to get their hands on one.
'Tis the season to deck the halls for the holidays, and nothing brings more Christmas curb appeal than a giant Santa and sleigh in your front yard or on your roof. But this year, there may be fewer St. Nics coming to town.
Customers say some popular giant Santa decorations, as highlighted in the Wall Street Journal, are missing from store shelves, like this viral 9-foot LED Santa sleigh and reindeer set from Home Depot, which has been out of stock online and hard to snag in stores, too.
Most Home Depots don't even carry them, so it is that rare.
Oh my God, I can't believe we found it. And this massive 8-foot version of Santa that was available just last year, reselling on eBay for over $2,000, leaving many desperately seeking Santa. According to Retail Me Not, the magic of Santa is part of a growing trend. Consumers leaning into nostalgia and meaningful traditions this year, which for many means the bigger, the better.
People aren't necessarily just chasing this decor, they're chasing joy. And of course, who isn't going to smile over a big, large Santa?
Some items may be harder to come by because of rising tariffs. An estimated 87% of U.S. Christmas decor comes from China.
Manufacturers were honest that tariffs did add that cost pressure this year, and so some bought less in inventory.
When it comes to Christmas, Dante Holmes and Cynthia Hamilton go all out decorating their 3-acre lot in Richland, Washington.
We like to go big.
This year, they contacted reps at Home Depot in an effort to find the Santa giants on their wish list, but ultimately came up short.
Hey, can you check every store everywhere in the United States? And he couldn't find any of the giants.
Still, they say nothing will put a damper on their holiday spirit as they continue to spread Christmas cheer.
We work around it. We add other stuff and then make it all work.
It's really, really fun to see families come back over and over and over again.
So if you haven't been able to get your lawn ornaments yet, don't worry. There are some other giant Santas still available online at Home Depot and other stores like Lowe's and Hobby Lobby. There are also entire Facebook groups quite literally dedicated to tracking down the most sought after Santas of the season. I should also note we reached out to Home Depot about these hard to find Santas. They say that they appreciate fans' passion for their decor and that there's always the chance that previous collections could always make a return in years to come. Okay, the countdown to the 2026 Winter Olympic Games is on. It's now only 59 days away, and there's one Olympic icon already in the spotlight. The historic torch was officially lit on Saturday and is now making its way across Italy. It was designed by an MIT professor who told NBC's Raf Sanchez it was an honor to be a small part of history.
Few moments capture the world's imagination like the Olympic torch relay. Millions held their breath as the ceremonial cauldron was lit by a burning arrow in 1992, a high-stakes ski jump in 1994, and in 1996, Muhammad Ali battling Parkinson's to lift the flame in Atlanta. This year's torch now winding through Italy en route to Milan, and drawing attention for its distinct, minimal design.
We wanted the flame to be the star of the show.
It's the work of Carlo Ratti, an Italian designer who wanted a torch that was sustainable and focused on the flame.
It's not about adding what is not needed. It's about going back to what is essential.
How does it feel to design an object that is literally going to be seen by the entire world?
To design the torch is a great honor. There's also great responsibility, because of what it means for everybody.
He drew inspiration from the torch of the 1972 Winter Games in Sapporo, Japan.
That was a beautiful minimalist torch that left a mark.
Ratti also runs MIT's Sensible City Lab, driving urban innovation and sustainability.
How does your work at MIT inform the design of the torch?
One of the important things at MIT is that we collaborate. We got people from all disciplines at the lab coming together. And that's the same thing we follow in the Olympic torch.
A sleek keeper of the flame, lighting the way to the upcoming games. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, London.
Just breathtaking. And don't forget, you can catch all the action from the 2026 Winter Olympic Games in Milan, starting with the opening ceremony on Friday, February 6th on NBC and Peacock. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.